timer started here. We're going to study classical reasoning. This is our second lesson. Okay, timer is going. This is our second lesson in Classical Reasoning 1. Classical Reasoning 1. In our first lesson, we had an introduction to the study of reasoning and all of Aristotle's works on reasoning, the Organon. And then we started the reading of the first book, which was Porphyry's introduction. So this is Classical Reasoning Lesson 2, and it's Porphyry. We're just going to refer to this book as Porphyry. Porphyry, Chapter 2. Okay? And just for the sake of review, we said that, yeah, you can close that. Just for the sake of review, we said that Aristotle's Organon is difficult to study, and so Porphyry was a philosopher who lived in the time of the early Christians, and he wrote a book called the Isagoge, which means introduction, to help students get started with the study of Aristotle's Categories, which is the first book of the Organon. In our last lesson, we read Chapter 1, and in this lesson, we're going to start working through Chapter 2. Chapter 2 is a long and difficult lesson. We're just going to take our time and work through it together. So in this lesson, we're going to study Porphyry's introduction, Chapter 2. All right? Before we start the chapter, let's just take one more minute and say that what Porphyry said is that in order to understand Aristotle's Categories, there are 5 things that you need to understand first. Remember that? I'm not asking you if you remember the 5 things. I know that's probably hard, but you remember Porphyry said that there are 5 things that you need to understand before you can study Aristotle's Categories. They were called the 5 predicables. The 5 predicables. The first one was genus. Can you think of any others? Don't guess. Can you think of any others? If not, I'm going to list them. Genus. The second one was difference. The third was species. The fourth was peculiarity. And the fifth was, anyone remember the last one? We talked about it today in Latin grammar. Accident. So congratulations, you are 0 for 5. Genus, difference, species, peculiarity, it's too late. Genus, difference, species, peculiarity, and accident are the 5 predicables. And we said what a predicable is a thing that is able to be predicated of a subject. And I gave you this example. I gave you this great example where we said Socrates is blank, 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 and blank. Right? And we said you can predicate 5 different kinds of things about Socrates. You can predicate his genus. You can predicate a difference. You can predicate his species. You can predicate a peculiarity. You can predicate an accident. And I know that you don't understand that because we haven't studied it yet. But that's just an overview of what this book is about. Okay? So in this chapter, we're going to actually start studying and learning genus and species. Okay? We're going to start learning genus and species. Chapter 2. This, like I said, this is a difficult chapter. We're going to go through it slowly, and I'm going to do my best to explain every piece of it so that we can understand it. Okay, so chapter 2 of Porphyry's introduction. Let's take a look at the text. Porphyry's introduction, chapter 2. We're going to learn what genus and species are in this chapter. The text reads, "It seems that neither genus nor species is simply denominated." What does that mean? We're going to start right with this first sentence because it's very important. It seems that neither genus nor species is simply denominated. In another class, I guess it was English grammar maybe, we talked about the importance of definitions. We said in order to use language, we have to make sure that we actually use words, and both of the people talking to each other, or one writing, one reading, they have to have the same definitions and use words in the same ways. Remember we talked about that? Okay? Well, what Socrates says here is that the words genus and species, not Socrates, Porphyry. What Porphyry says here is that the words genus and species are confusing. They cause a lot of confusion. They cause students a lot of trouble, and it's not the students' fault. The reason why they're confusing is because these words are used in different ways, depending on what author you read, depending on what book you're reading. These words are used, and in one place they mean one thing, and in another place they mean another thing, and when you read, it's confusing. So the first thing Porphyry says is, we have to clarify what these words mean. Once we clarify what these words mean, it'll take away a lot of this confusion. This is one of the problems that makes studying Aristotle's categories difficult. Once we clarify the meaning of these words and understand what Aristotle actually means when he uses these words, a lot of the confusion will go away. So the first thing that, in chapter 2, the first thing Porphyry says is one of the sources of confusion in studying Aristotle is that the words genus and species are, quote unquote, not simply denominated. Not simply denominated. And what that means, denominated means named. So when you name something, that's what it means to denominate something, to name something. These words are not used simply. And what simply means is in one way. They're used in a number of different ways, and that makes things confusing. So not simply denominated means that these two words are used to mean different things. Or to say this even better, these two words are used to name different ideas. So when you hear the word, you can't be sure what idea the word represents. And the use of the word genus and the use of the word species causes confusion. That's one of the reasons why it's hard to get going in this study. These words are used in different places with different meanings, and that's a cause of confusion. So what do we have to do? We have to establish the meaning of these words. we have to establish a definition for genus, and we have to establish a definition for species based on what Aristotle means by these words. We have to learn what Aristotle means when he uses the word genus. We have to learn what Aristotle means when he uses the word species. We can't think it means the same thing it means in some other book or some other writer. So in that very first line, it seems that neither genus nor species is simply denominated. Do you understand what simply denominated means? It means the words are not used in the same way. Okay, I'm going to erase this. And you'll see, when we get to the study of Aristotle's categories, in the very first chapter of Aristotle's categories, this is what he talks about. He talks about how names are used and how names cause confusion. Aristotle knows this is the problem. Genus and species are not simply denominated. The words are used in a number of different senses, and we're not sure what Aristotle means when he uses those words. So Porphyry is going to help explain what Aristotle means. Okay? The text goes on and says, here's one way that genus is used. A collection of certain things, and I want you older guys to pay attention, because you can understand this, but you have to pay attention. It's difficult. But if you pay attention, you can understand it. Here's the first idea that the word genus is used to represent. A collection of certain things. A collection of certain things subsisting in a certain respect with reference to one thing and to each other is called genus. A collection of things that has some relationship is called a genus. So the first definition of genus that Porphyry talks about is a collection of things if all we get through is genus in this lesson, it's fine, because it's that important. A collection of things, he says, with reference to one thing. My goal as the teacher here is to help you understand this. I know that this is difficult, but I'm going to do my best to make you understand this. The first definition of genus, the first way that genus is used is to refer to a collection of things with reference to one thing. In other words, they have some connection to each other, some relationship. And he gives us an example. The Heraclidae. An example of this is the Heraclidae. And you have no idea what this means. I know that. It's my job to explain it. The name Heraclidae, what that means is the sons of Hercules. We talked about them in history class. Right? Who did we say were the sons of Heracles? The Dorians, very good. The Heraclidae is a collection of things. Right? The Heraclidae is a collection of things, and they have something in common. They're all sons of Hercules. Okay? So a family name is an example of genus. A genus is a class of things with reference to one thing. They all have a common relation to one thing. That makes them a genus. The example is the Heraclidae, which is just the name sons of Heracles in English. That's an example of a genus. That's one way that the word genus is used to refer to a collection of things with reference to one thing. That's one example, okay? The Heraclidae, and there's a lot of vocabulary in here, but it's not a big deal. Just keep following along. I'll explain it. The genus of the Heraclidae is denominated from the habitude from one thing. They have a common relationship. They're all related to one thing. What are all the Heraclidae related to? What are all the Heraclidae, every member of that class, what are they related to? Hercules. That's the one thing that they're all related to. He says they all are denominated from the habitude or relation from one thing. I mean, from Hercules. And the multitude of those who derive, in a certain respect, alliance from him. All those who have this relationship to Hercules are all members of one class or genus, one collection, one multitude. And that multitude of things, that collection of things that has a relation all to one thing is called a genus. That's the first way genus is used. But what Porphyry says is that is not what Aristotle means when he uses the word genus in the categories. Okay? Here's a second meaning. Porphyry writes, after another manner also, in another way. The word genus is used in another way. After another manner, the principle of generation of everyone is again denominated as a genus. The word genus is used to refer to the principle of the generation of every member of a class. The principle of generation, that means where they come from, their source, of the members of a class. So if all the members of a class come from the same thing, that relationship they have, or that source that they're all from, is called a genus. That's another meaning for this word genus. Thus we say, he gives this example. Thus we say that Orestes derived his genus from Tantalus and Hyllus from Hercules. That is their origin. Genus can refer to the origin of something. But that is not what Aristotle means by it. Okay? There's a third meaning, at least in the categories. That's not what Aristotle means by genus. There's a third meaning. And this is on the next page. I'm going to scroll down a bit. In the next paragraph, he says, again, after another manner, genus is denominated. That is, genus is used to name something, or genus is defined. And this is going to be very complicated, so just follow me. I'll write it up on the board. That to which species is subjected. All right, that's all I'm going to say. That to which species is subjected. Genus is that to which species is subjected. And I know that you have no idea what that means. And it's okay. That's why we're in class. If you knew what that means, I'd probably be a millionaire somewhere. All right, so what does this mean? This third meaning. That to which genus is subjected. You don't know what these words mean, but you know what this idea means because we've talked about it 1,000 times. Very, very simple. It's very, very simple. Here are two men. Okay? This man is Socrates, this man is Plato. Socrates and Plato are members of a certain group, a certain class of things. What class of things do you believe Socrates and Plato are members of? What do you think? Philosophers. Well, you could say philosophers. That's a bigger than that. Class of things. Think like biology class. What class of things are Socrates and Plato members of? What class do they belong to? What are they? Men, right? Men. That's it, man. So Socrates, Plato, and every other human being, they all are members of the class of men. So here's another class, and these two classes belong to a bigger class. What do you think the bigger class is that man belongs to? Human. Animal. Good. Okay, animal. And this other class over here, we'll call it beast. And when we use the word beast, we mean animals that are not rational. Man is a rational animal. Beasts are animals that are not rational. So when we say the word animal, we don't mean farm animals, we don't mean dogs and cats. Animal is any living thing. Okay? And we can keep going. We could have another class over here, we could say this is plants. If this is animal and this is plants and they belong to a bigger class, what is that bigger class? Living things. Living creatures. Okay? Now what you see is there's this big system of categories, right? This big system of classes that goes up. When one class contains other classes, one class contains other classes, this class is called a genus. And these two classes are called species. So a genus is a class of things that divides into species. So Socrates and Plato, what is their species? Man. You understand that? What genus do Socrates and Plato belong to? Animal. And living creature. And it keeps going up. All of those higher classes that they belong to are genus. The last class which they belong to is called the species. You understand that? That's not too complicated, is it? It's not complicated. So there's a difference between a genus and species. Species are classes that are contained in a higher class. Socrates and Plato are called individuals. I don't know what you're smiling about. Don't tell me. Oh, you're making fun of my drawing. Socrates and Plato are individuals. They're all the way at the bottom of the system. All the way at the bottom. are individuals. Individuals belong to a class, and that first class that they belong to is called a species. And that species and another species on the same level belong to a genus at a higher level. You following me? I want you to see something else. Ready? Follow me here. Man and beast are species of the genus animal. Do you understand that? Man and beast are species of the genus animal. Animal and plant are species of the genus living things. So animal is a genus, but it's also a species. Animal is the genus of man and beast. Animal is the genus of Socrates and Plato. But animal is the species of living things. It's a species of living things. Plants are a species of living things. But plants are also a genus that contains other species. Man is a species. Man contains individuals. Man does not contain any other species. Man is only species. Man is only species. Animal is genus to man and beast, but animal is also species to living thing, living creature. Animal can be genus and species. Man can only be species. Living creature is the genus of animal and plant, but living creature is a species to a higher genus. And this system goes up until we finally get to the highest genus. Can you understand how that system works? All things are divided, all of these ideas are divided in a system that goes from individuals at the bottom up to a class of individuals, up to a genus that contains that class and another class, and it goes up to another class that contains those classes, and there's a whole system like a tree that comes down. Okay? You get that basic idea in your head? I'm not asking you if you understand all that, because that's what we're going to study in Aristotle. But do you get the basic idea that there's this system that starts with individuals and works up through classes to the top, which is the biggest class of all, that contains all the other classes, all the way down to the individuals? You understand that? All right, now let's look back at this definition, and it will make sense. Genus is that to which species is subjected. What does the word subjected mean? Subjected means set under. Genus is that thing to which species is set under. Genus is that thing, follow me here. Genus is that, follow me here. This is this definition that we just read. Genus is that to which species is subjected. Genus is that to which species is subjected, set under. The definition of genus, this definition says that genus is that which has species set under it. Can you understand that definition now? Genus is that collection of things that can be divided into species, that has species under it. that contains species. That's the definition of genus. There's nothing more for you to understand. It's a definition. Okay? If I ask you, what is genus? And you said to me, I know, genus is that to which species is subjected. You would be right. It's a definition. Genus is that collection of things which contains species. I'm just going to keep saying it until I see the lights go on. Genus is that collection of things which has species in it, which contains species, which divides into species, which has species set under it, which has species subject to it. Genus is that to which species are subject. Genus is that collection which contains species. Genus is the collection which has species under it. That's all you need to know. That's what genus is. Okay? It's that simple. Genus is that to which species is subjected. Genus is that to which species is subjected. Okay, let's get back to our text. Genus is that to which species is subjected. I don't think I need to explain that anymore. Genus is called genus according to the similitude of the other meanings, because it's like an origin. It's like a family. Okay? The species are like children of the family. So it's like the other two definitions, but it's different. That's what he's saying there. A genus of this kind, he says, a genus of this kind is a certain principle or source of the things which are under it. And when it says under it, it means under it like this, under it in the system. A genus is a certain principle of the things which are under it, like a source. It appears also to comprehend or contain, it appears to comprehend all the multitude which is under it. All the multitude of things which are under it, genus appears to comprehend, to contain. We have plenty of time, don't worry. Genus appears to comprehend all of the multitude which is under it. Since, therefore, genus is denominated in a threefold manner. Genus is denominated in a threefold manner. 1, 2, 3. In how many ways is genus denominated? In how many ways is the word genus used? 3 ways. These are the 3 ways. Okay? That's what he says there. Genus is denominated in a threefold manner. These 3 ways. The third way is that way which is considered by philosophers. The third way is the way that it's considered by philosophers. So genus is used in this way, but that's not how the philosophers use it. That's not what philosophers mean when they say genus. Genus is used in this way, but that is not what philosophers mean when they use the word genus. This is the way, that's the correct way. This third way is what philosophers mean when they use the word genus. Okay? So this is the first step that we take to clear up the confusion that keeps us from being able to understand Aristotle's categories. We have to understand the meaning of the word genus. Porphyry says, if you read all through literature you'll find that the word genus is used in 3 different ways. The first and second way, you can't allow them to confuse you when you read Aristotle. Aristotle's a philosopher. When he uses the word genus, he means this third idea. He's talking about this system of ideas in philosophy. That's what Aristotle means by genus. He's not talking about genus like the sons of Heracles. That's not what he's talking about. He's not talking about the idea that Plato is from Athens. That's not what he's talking about. When Aristotle uses the word genus, he means that under which species is subject. That which contains species. That collection of ideas which can be divided into species, which can be divided into individuals. Okay. The third way is that which is used by the philosophers. Now what Porphyry does is he goes on to go further and clarify it. He says, okay, so this is the general idea that we have here. That to which species is subject. That's what genus is. That's what the word genus means in the philosophers. But let's go into more detail. Let's make it clearer. I'm going to erase this beautiful illustration here. We're going to go into more detail to understand this more clearly. He goes on to say, also describing genus, they explain when they say that genus is that which is predicated of many things, differing in species, in answer to a question, what is this? That's the definition. I'm going to write this. So these 3 possible meanings, we know that 2 are wrong, 1 is right. So let's clarify, what does genus mean? Let's make it clearer. Let's get a really clear Aristotelian definition of this word genus. What is genus? If we get this definition right, Porphyry says, we're going to understand Aristotle's teaching. The philosophers say that genus is that which is predicated of many things. And I know you don't understand what this means, but I'm going to explain everything. That which is predicated, I'm going to repeat it 500 times until you can't forget it even if you try. That which is predicated of many things, differing in species, many things, differing in species, in answer to the question, what is this? Okay? Genus is that which is predicated of many things, differing in species, in answer to the question, what is this? And let me give you a quick example. If I were to take a bird, right? If I were to bring a bird to class and hold a bird in my hand, and let's just say it's a cardinal, right? Let's say I'm holding a cardinal in my hand. If I asked you, what is this? Imagine that I have a cardinal in my hand. If I say, what is this? I'm not going to draw it. I'm just going to tell you to imagine it, okay? If I say, what is this? What would you say? You might say it's a cardinal, right? But what is it? It's a bird. You would say it's a bird. Okay? The problem with bird is that bird wouldn't necessarily differ in species, right? Differ in species. So you'd have to go up a level. You'd have to go up a level from bird. What? Living things or animal, right? So if I held a cardinal in my hand and said, what is this? You could say it's a cardinal, right? That would be a class of things to which it belongs, but that wouldn't be a class that differs in species. So you'd have to go higher. And if I said go up higher to a higher class, you would then say it's an animal. If I asked you, what is this? And you named a class of things, what's predicated of many things. It's predicated of many things because there are many things in the class. Differing in species, in answer to the question, what is this? If you said that is an animal, you would name the genus of this thing. If I held a cardinal in my hand and asked you, what is this? And you said it's a cardinal, that would be true. That would be the species, just like the species of Plato and Socrates is man. If you said cardinal, that would be the species. And if I said, no, higher, what is this? And you said, it's a bird, that would be a genus. Okay? Or maybe bird would just be the species, and we'd go one higher and we'd say animal. That would be the genus. Okay? If you said bird, maybe that would just be the species. Because I don't think that cardinal actually is the species. I think bird would be the species and animal would be the genus. All right? If I brought Isaiah up here and I said, what in the world is this? If I said, what is this? And Isaiah was standing up here and I said, what is this? It's a man, a human, right? It's a human, it's a man. And I said, that's the species of this thing. But go higher. What is this? And you said, that is an animal. That would be the genus of Isaiah. Isaiah is an individual man. Man is a species because man doesn't divide into species. There's not different species of man. Maybe there should be, but there's not. Man doesn't divide into species. Man is the last species. So man is not a genus. But if we go one level higher, one class higher, and say animal, animal is a collection of things that differ in species, and answer the question, what is this? Do you see that definition? What it means? Yes or no? You can understand this. It's just vocabulary. It's just vocabulary. You just have to take it apart piece by piece. You can understand this. Genus is that which is predicated of many things. Why is it predicated of many things? Because it's a class. Here's the genus, animal. It's a class that contains species. Here is man. Here is beast. Man does not divide into species. Follow me here. Follow me here. Man doesn't divide into species. Man contains individuals. Man does not divide into species. Man is predicated of many things. Pay attention. You can understand this. Man is predicated of many things. What does that mean? I can say Socrates is man. I can say Plato is man. I can go on, the name of every individual person, and I can predicate man of many things. Do you understand that? And over here I have beast. I can predicate beast of many things. I can say that horse is a beast. That cow is a beast. That goat is a beast. That bird is a beast. I can predicate beast of many things. But beast may not divide into species. Man does not divide into species. Man is species and only species. Anything that I can say about man, about this individual, if I can say that this individual is man, and man is contained in animal, then I can say this about man too. I can say man is animal. Because man is, I can say Socrates is animal. I can say Socrates is animal because man is contained in animal. You understand that? So if I can say Plato is man and man is animal, then I can say Plato is animal. So animal is predicated of many things. Animal is predicated of all men and of all beasts. It's predicated of many things, and it divides into species. It's genus. Genus is that which is predicated of many things, which differ in species, and answer to the question, what is this? Now let's go back to our cardinal. If I held this cardinal in my hand and I said, what is this? Would any of you say it's a red thing? Would anyone say it's a red thing? No, because you know that red doesn't tell us what this thing is. Red doesn't answer the question, what is this? If I point to a car on the highway and I say, what is that? Nobody says, oh, that's a yellow thing. We'd say, no, duh, that's not what I mean. So if I held a cardinal and said, what is this? No one would say, that's a red thing. That makes no sense. Okay? But if I said, what kind of a thing is this? You could say a red thing. I'm not asking, what is this? Okay? If I asked you, what is a quality in this thing? You could say it's red. But if I say, what is this? No one will say it's red. The first thing most of you would say is, it's a cardinal, if you know what it is. What if I asked, a 4-year-old kid, what if I brought some little toddler in here, and I held a cardinal in front of him, and I said, what is this? What do you think he would say? It's bird. Right? And what if I put the cardinal down and picked up a blue jay, and I said to him, what is this? He would say bird. You understand that? Because when we don't know the details of things, we generalize. Do you understand that? We would say bird. But if you've studied birds and if you're experienced with birds and you've learned the different species of birds, you would say, I know what that is. That's a sparrow. That's a crow. That's a blue jay. You actually wouldn't say that's a bird. If I pointed to a bird up in a tree and I said, what's that? You wouldn't say, that's a bird, Dad. I'd say, no, duh. That's not what I mean. I mean, what kind of bird is that? Right? And you'd say, oh, that's a hawk. That's an owl. That's a cardinal. That's a raven. That's a sparrow. Obviously, I know it's a bird. But a little child would say, bird. If I pointed out into the field at one of our old cows, at Ruthie, and I said, what is that? You would say, it's a Jersey cow, right? But if I pointed to the black cow, you would say, that's an Angus cow. You wouldn't say, that's a cow. You wouldn't say, that's an animal, right? Because children, when we don't know things, when we don't know the divisions of things, we speak in general terms. You know what the word general means? It means we talk about its genus. That's what general means. But if you do study something, you talk about it specifically. Pay attention. Specifically. If you tell me specifically what something is, where does that word specific come from? Species. As you get more mature and you learn more, you talk specifically. You name things specifically. When you're ignorant, you speak generally. Okay? Genus is that which is predicated of many things, differing in species, in answer to the question, what is this? That's the definition of genus. That's the definition that Porphyry wants to make sure we understand. Okay? And I think we've probably reached our time because my timer stopped for a minute. So we're going to stop here. This is our first class on Chapter 2 of Porphyry's Introduction. This is complicated stuff, but look at me. You can understand this stuff. You have to work a little bit. Some of it is pure memory work. A definition has to be memorized. You have to understand the parts of the definition. But you can understand this. Genus is that which is predicated of many things, differing in species, in answer to the question, what is this? Okay? What I'd like you to do is take a minute, and at the bottom of your notes, I want you to write a brief summary of what we studied. Write a brief summary of what we studied. And that's going to be the end of this class, the first class we're going to use to study Lesson 2 of Porphyry's Introduction.